Hey, Foot Clan, today's sponsor is Audible, who has more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. Get a free 30-day trial at www.audible.com/ballers.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Happy Thursday, everybody.
I was really looking forward to a happy birthday there.
You always say that.
Well, when you say happy, that's
Whose
what follows.
birthday?
It's nobody's, but I want it to be mine.
Oh,
Certainly not mine. I've got to find a replacement for Rob Gronkowski. That's not a birthday gift.
week 13.
Just listen to this show, Andy. We'll have some
Yeah, we will.
starts of the week.
I know. And I made my decision yesterday. I looked long and hard at the waiver wire and all the options, the Rudolphs, McDonald's, and Millers, and
Oh, my.
oh my, yes. So we have a good show for you today. We are the Fantasy Footballers. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I'm Andy Holloway, joined by Jason Moore
Howdy.
and Mike, the Fantasy Hitman himself.
Hello.
And we are back again. We're talking week, golly, is it 13?
Yep,
13.
it's
Is
time
it
for
really
the playoffs.
When does the next season start again? Is it right after week 17? They just start it on a cycle? I'm sure at some point Goodell will get that point, and it'll just be in the trillions and trillions of dollars that the NFL will make.
What percentage of leagues do you think start their playoffs this week? In 13.
Start this
In
week?
Yes,
13?
start in 13.
You know, we used to,
Right, that's why I'm saying.
because we used to have the
double week
Yeah,
playoffs.
I think there's a decent amount.
10%, 20%?
I'd say
I'd go
in
around
their
20.
range. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So starting, some people are already in playoffs. A lot of people start next week. If you're in like a 12-team league where 6 make the playoffs, next week's kind of when it starts. So, yeah, what are we doing today? We got our news and notes. We're going to let you know what's going on with some injuries and things like that. We got our fantasy forecast. We're going to go through the matchups, talk about some of the things we're seeing this week, and guys you should sit, guys you should start. And then we have our starts of the week, the guys that we're very confident in going into this week, help you make some decisions with your lineup. If you want to connect with the show, you can do so on Twitter at the FFBallers. You can go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. That's where you can submit questions to the show. We always try to answer some questions on the show. We answer them on Twitter. We do things like that. And visit jointhefoot.com, our fantasy football community, where we are and have been helping people all year long. It's been very rewarding to get to this point in the season and to get the questions coming in saying, hey, I'm locked into the playoffs. What are some guys for these matchups? Or, hey, I'm battling to get into the playoffs. If I win this week, I'm in. And it's very, very fun. Would you agree?
Oh,
You,
yeah.
you both look very enthralled in your spaces there.
Just making sure nothing's happening on the tweeter.
Got to be
oh, yeah?
checking that news.
Checking the breaking news. So my quick question for the day actually comes from a listener whose name is Michael. And he sent in a question to me, or to us, on the website. And his question was basically, Aaron Rodgers or Big Ben this week. But let me explain kind of his situation. He has no ability to stream a different quarterback. You got 2 Macs on your roster. He's got Big Ben and Rodgers. Do you have any concern, and I guess answer the question, Rodgers or Big Ben, but for him, if Big Ben was somehow out with the concussion or any of those, he's questionable right now, the official designation.
Game.
Rodgers is a Thursday game. So he asked me, I like Big Ben more this week. That was my answer to him. But if there's any doubt about Big Ben, don't you just have to play Rodgers on Thursday Night Football?
Yep. Yeah, you absolutely have to put Rodgers in. Don't worry about it. And it's not like Rodgers has been bad.
Right.
Let's look at what he's done. It's not bad. It's just not a guy you would draft in the first round as a quarterback, and that's where the people have been disappointed by his numbers because other guys taken way later are producing at equal or greater value to Aaron Rodgers. But when you put him in, he's not gonna crap your team. He's not gonna lose it for you on Thursday night.
I just love that phrase. I've never heard that phrase. He's gonna crap your team. That tickled my insides. Because you don't want people that are gonna crap your team.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
So I would put him in. He's probably good for at least 250 and 2. I know the Lions defense has been playing much better. It is in Detroit, but still with all of that, I feel confident that Aaron Rodgers will get me suitable numbers. Maybe Big Ben outscores him this week. It would not shock me at all. But if your situation is you got to get some points, you got to put Rodgers in.
Yeah, I agree. Aaron Rodgers is the safer play. You got to keep in mind he gets yards on the ground as well, so his baseline will go up against the Lions. But Big Ben's the higher ceiling. But if you're worried about the injury, just
So you guys are so smart. What I told him was I said, don't deal with this decision. Just start Austin Davis. Because Austin Davis is in line for a start this week. So you guys are way.
You just completely disregarded his only 2 quarterbacks. So who are you dropping? Which one?
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
drop
for
him
sure.
for Davis.
For Austin Davis?
Yeah.
Actually,
That's what Mike Pettin would do.
Right. So Mike brought up an interesting point, though, because he said, this season, Rodgers isn't justifiable as that starter. Obviously, Andrew Luck wasn't justifiable. And so the streaming quarterback, if there's one refrain we've seen in these emails that come in and say, hey, I'm in the playoffs, it's been, hey, I've been streaming quarterbacks all year long.
And it's been working.
But I want to say this, at least, you guys might disagree with me, but you won't. So, but this show is not going to be about one methodology to winning at fantasy football for the next 5 years. I see us probably going into 2016 with the same refrain about streaming quarterbacks because we saw it carried out this year. But if that trend changes in fantasy football, then our advice is going to change.
Absolutely. There's been a long time thing for running backs, for instance. 20 years ago in fantasy football, running backs were the end all be all, and they had to be every pick in the first 3 rounds. They were the only thing that mattered, and that's carried over probably too far in some leagues. You've got to be able to shift to what the NFL's doing, and we try.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I figured out, I told Mike this on the phone, I think. I figured out the trick and the secret to fantasy football.
Breaking news.
Yeah, let me hit the button.
Breaking news.
Don't draft any players that can get injured. That's the key.
Which means you don't draft
Yeah,
anybody.
you're abstaining from fantasy football. Got it.
The humor of it is we've had so many season-impacting injuries this year, and obviously I'm a little sensitive because I lost Deion Lewis and I lost Gronk and I lost Foster. But it makes me question going into next year a little bit of the depth versus power. I mean, part of my philosophy in fantasy football for a long time has been, kind of take the risk, put the best possible players on the field. There was a time when my roster looked, just glistening and great. But now I'm questioning that for next year because the injuries are so great now.
We will see.
I mean, that's the wrong word.
Head
That's so
to head,
terrible.
me versus you in our league of record. We're going to see that strategy because I've gone the depth route this year, and you've gone the power route this year.
And you were mad.
Yeah,
because you couldn't get deals at the end of the year for big names.
I would rather, in general, have those power players than the depth. But we're going to find out this year.
It's just interesting.
What will be really interesting for next year is running backs in the first round. I think that's going to be the hot topic of the fantasy discussion
you saw
over the offseason.
Lewis and Charles and
who's left? Adrian Peterson.
Right.
He's the only first-round running back I can think of who's left.
No, and the guys we're relying on are guys like
Eddie Lacy looks like he might be okay.
Yeah, but
C.J. Anderson.
But those first-round picks are coming back. They ruined your team for the year.
If you held them, now you're good.
They crapped your team?
Yeah, I'm sorry. They crapped your team.
Yeah. That actually, honestly, Lacy and C.J. Anderson could not be those have got to be the two guys that crap the most teams. So, all right, let's move on.
News and notes from around the league.
And I know we went a little longer and kind of went different places with that quick question, but I think that's a little bit more of what you're going to see during the preseason from us too, where we're going to discuss and look at those trends and the philosophies behind the moves. And I like having those discussions and kind of reflecting on the season. So, all right, news from around the NFL. Darrelle Revis. What's his name again, Jason?
Darren Revis is his name, so you can correct that. Let me fix that in the
I just see a State Farm commercial every time you say that.
Darren Revis.
So Darrelle, and it almost, Mike and I say, doesn't it mess with how we say it? Like I have to pause now and go, wait, Darrelle, yeah. So anyway, he's likely out this week again. Is this fortuitous news for Mr. Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yeah.
Or
that groan is I have to play against him in our league of record, and I really need to make up some points.
Get over to New York. Get working on that Revis concussion situation.
Beckham's going. not just ham. He is going full
Meat and potatoes?
honey glazed, prime ham.
Let me see where, out of curiosity, where do we have Odell Beckham as a group this week in our rankings?
I tried to rank him as low as I possibly could, and he's still, I think, top 5 for me.
He's my number 1.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
He's 8 for you, 5
Yeah,
for me.
you.
I got him at 8.
Yeah,
That's just wishful thinking.
I was going to say that's just to talk yourself into some hopes there.
That was actually done when I thought Revis. I thought
Might
they were
be
saying
back.
Revis might be back, and clearly he's not going to be. So Beckham will have to move up.
All right, not big news here because Calvin was questionable last week before the Thursday night game, but Calvin Johnson is expected to play on Thursday night, so if you see that Q next to his name, don't fear. We think he'll be out there, but pay attention whenever you see that. All right, Greg Olson from the Jaguars, their offensive coordinator, said it's unlikely Allen Hurns will play in Week 13. How does that impact the offense?
Well, first, how difficult is it to play tight end for the Panthers and play call for the Jaguars at the exact same time?
Yeah, it's definitely not a different guy.
Spelled different.
It
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
O-N.
Hurns out. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's a big bump for Julius Thomas.
I won't believe it until game time.
That Hurns
for
won't
Hurns?
play?
Yeah. Hurns is one of those
I know
guys.
You know who he's
half
on the
dead.
phone with right now? Eric Decker.
Yeah.
Eric Decker's saying, come on, buddy. I know you're seeing double.
Hurns has earned my respect this year.
Yeah, I talked about it last time. I like the Jaguars' offense, even if you don't want me to. All right, Tyler Eifert is not practicing on Wednesday. What's the latest on Eifert? We did not.
Well, he had that stinger that took him out of the game. Not practicing on Wednesday is certainly not a great sign, but he still has plenty of time to get some limited work in. He could even not practice today. Hopefully you see limited on Friday. And then if he's limited Friday, he's good to go. But if he misses the next 2 days, that's some trouble. That's
All right.
trouble in River City.
Chuckandrick West is practicing in full on Wednesday. That's big news.
Yeah, he'll be back.
But what does it mean? Because Spencer Ware was extremely efficient in 2 games, so
West will be the primary ball carrier. Ware will absolutely be worked in, but West is the pass catching back.
Good
Spencer Ware was not. He did not excel in that part of the game, so that'll be West's role. So I still think let's say you have both of them, who are you going to start? It's West for sure.
All right, we talked about the Chiefs' defense and the impact of Justin Houston's injury. Good news came out about that. It wasn't a strained or sprained PCL, whatever that report was. He's dealing with a hyperextended knee, which is the second kind of hyperextended knees are very good news in the NFL.
For him and Gronk.
Yeah, so basically Justin Houston, he could be back. He hasn't even been ruled out this week. I doubt he plays this week, but that's good news for the Chiefs' defense going forward as they play at home against San Diego next week. What else do we got going on? I think we should
Austin Davis is officially going to start. We kind of mentioned it a little bit, but Davis will be starting for the Browns. However, it's week to week. Up there says a report that Mike Pettin is now open to Johnny Manziel making some more starts because it is a clown show.
We have
It is a clown. We need a clown music button.
We certainly do.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to get that. There's too many opportunities on the course of a John Fox-related year.
So we talk about the Browns every week.
And I think Jason and I actually disagree on this. My opinion, you put Manziel in, you start him the rest of the year, no matter what, unless he gets hurt and he can't play, of course. Then you can't play him. If
No matter what. Hey, he's on the stretcher. Put him back out there.
You put him out. It's kind of like the in Denver with Tim Tebow, where the crowd just demanded Tebow, and there's nothing you can do. It kind of backfired for Denver because he started winning, but there's nothing. The mob wants to see Johnny Manziel. Let them see what he can do. Either you're like, oh, we don't need a quarterback because Manziel magically can do it, or he falls on his face like the majority of people are expecting, and then you can move on. It's not going to happen again next year.
I think John Gruden is at the very front of that mob with his pitchfork saying, put Johnny Manziel in.
Dude, Gruden was great on Monday night. This is not something we usually talk about, the announcing, but he was just killing people, and rightfully so. He was actually calling people out. It was fantastic.
So let me ask you something that crossed my mind yesterday. Now, Tim Tebow is in the news. I'm not going to get into it. It was ridiculous. Facebook rumorville type of.
So stupid.
But what happened is one of the thumbnail pictures is him in the Eagles jersey, and I started thinking about the Eagles season and quarterback play, and I started to wonder, would they have been a better offense? Me? Okay, all right.
Not a better fantasy, but they might have won more games.
No way.
I still want to believe.
You
all right,
the Tebow magic.
Hey, you know what? There are immeasurable statistics that exist in the out there where he can motivate his team a little bit. He's not the best quarterback, but he won. What did you just say about Denver?
Yeah.
He beat the Steelers in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
I give credit where credit is due. And speaking of credit, let's thank Audible for sponsoring today's podcast. You heard me talk about it at the very beginning of the show. Audible is offering our listeners, the Foot Clan, a free 30-day trial membership. You go to audible.com/ballers. You can browse over 180,000 audio programs. You can download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. You go to audible.com/ballers. That's audible.com/ballers to get started today. Like I said, they've got over 180,000 programs from audiobooks to magazines, newspaper publications, things like that. And different people have different thoughts about Matthew Berry. We certainly respect Matthew Berry. His book is great, A Fantasy Life. If you just want to hear some great tales about leagues and formations of leagues and the history of fantasy football, that's available on Audible. I've listened to it. We've all been Audible subscribers, and it really, as much as you might hope, we can't record this show 24 hours a day. You've got a lot of commute time, work time. Audible's great. So head over there, go to audible.com/ballers, get your free 30-day trial membership.
And we'd also like to thank the Topps Huddle app. They're a great sponsor of the show. That, a lot of times we talk about apps that are useful for fantasy. This is just a fun, incredible app. It brings me back to the days when I did card collecting, card trading.
1959.
Opening packs, getting that rookie card. But this is better than that. They're not going to fade away. The Huddle
no
app.
Bent corners.
Yeah, no bent corners. They're always in mint condition in the Huddle app.
There you go.
They have officially licensed NFL players as the players you love. You get to grow your collection. You get to open packs. You get to trade and make trades with your friends. So all the Foot Clan listeners out there, start trading with each other and growing your collection, and you get to play them. So not only do you get to grow them, but you actually get to put a lineup out there of your cards and just like fantasy football, see what they do every week. It's a really fun app. A lot of families have been saying they really like it. There's over 300 million Topps digital packs that have been opened since 2012. So everybody out there, Foot Clan, for football fans, especially fantasy football fans, the app is a must-have. Download it for free in the App Store or the Google Play Store. It's the Topps Huddle app, and get 10 free packs today.
I will trade you my Austin Davis for your J.J. Watt.
Done.
All right, let's get into the matchups.
Fantasy Forecast.
I have I'll just tell the audience that we print the weekly matchups out as a separate piece of paper so we can just reference which games and people are playing. Jason was missing his paper today, and apparently I took his matchup paper.
How do you know that you took my paper?
I only know that because at the bottom you wrote a little note to us during the show. We recorded our Wednesday show after lunch on Tuesday, later on Tuesday, and he wrote Chipotle killing brain.
There you go.
Because he had just eaten, and so he was
a lot of metabolizing.
Yeah, you don't do good with food.
I do great with food.
I
Food doesn't
guess
do
that's
great with me.
a matter of perspective. All right, Packers. They head to Detroit to take on the Red Hot Lions.
It's crazy, man.
Revenge game. Hey,
Well-
do we have a water bet with that guy out there? Huh?
Oh, with Foot Clan Mike?
Betting on the Packers has proved not good for this podcast. I want some matchup to come that seems perfectly impossible, and let us bet on the Packers and see what happens.
Packers Browns.
Or like Packers, at home against the Lions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this game's in Detroit. Stafford's coming off a 5-touchdown game. What do we think of Stafford rest of the season? Because someone wrote in they were asking for some great playoff matchups. Stafford was in that streamer list for me because he's got San Francisco in Week 16. He's got a really good matchup in Week 15. I think it's New Orleans.
New Orleans. Yeah.
So Stafford looks like maybe somebody to ride a little bit.
Yeah, it's not bad. When was let's refresh memories, especially mine over here. When did Jim Bob Cooter take over? Was that after the bye week? Was it so the last 3 weeks?
I believe it was during the bye.
So in the last 3 weeks, they played Green Bay, Oakland, and Philadelphia. He's only thrown 1 pick in that time, Matt Stafford. So he's playing a lot better. He had the game against Oakland where that was a really strange game where both Stafford and Carr were not bad, but they just struggled and they couldn't get anything really done for fantasy. But aside from that, I mean, he 2 touchdowns against Green Bay in Week 10 and 5 against Philadelphia on that Thanksgiving massacre of the Eagles. So I think things are trending in the right direction for Matt Stafford. Maybe we got some better play calling happening. You can see the ground game has improved tremendously because there was literally no ground game at all to start the year.
That probably helps.
Absolutely, it helps. I mean, when you have
nobody's like cracking up when they try to play action pass,
and that's the technique.
That's what used to happen.
You see if you can make them laugh long enough for a receiver to break open. Like Abdullah actually had a decent game on the ground last week.
So did Joik.
Yeah, and Joik's game was really through the air is when he got it done on those 2 huge passes. So I think all those things combined equal to Matt Stafford being a solid play moving forward, and I would even play him tonight.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. And the Packers' defense has started. It started quickly. It started well, and now it's not been great. The run defense 23rd, the pass defense 18th. One thing that's interesting, though, is on the other side of the ball, the Lions give up the most multi-touchdown games to running backs.
Yes.
Lacey's trending up.
Yes.
This is a must-start situation for him, right?
Absolutely.
I think you do start Lacey, but I don't buy into the defense of the Lions being that sieve that they were early in the year. Since that bye week, we have seen a different Lions, and I think 3 games in a row is enough to say they've at least stepped up. They haven't phoned it in. In the last 3 games, they've given up 1 total touchdown to the running backs on the ground. So I do think Eddie Lacy is a fine start. He's back. He is a late season bloomer. I mean, he took over late last year, and I expect that he's going to do it again this year. I think he's fine to start, but I don't see the Lions as what they were.
Certainly
giving up 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns.
Who was the touchdown to?
That was to Oakland. So I believe that was Latavius Murray.
One of the things that has helped them, obviously, has been an improving pass defense, and that concerns Rodgers owners. You've had the Lions playing well. They're at home. They're on a roll.
Darius Slay is shutting people down.
He's looking good.
Now,
so who's he going to be on? Probably
whoever's.
That's a great question. I don't know if he shadows into the slot.
So, is the upside of Rodgers gone?
No,
he can still go out and throw a 5-touchdown game.
I would have absolutely 100%. He could go out this week against Darius Slay and throw 5 touchdowns. I believe. I don't hesitate for a second.
A lot of people ask him whether Cobb is worthy of starting this week, and I've been telling people most often no, compared to what they've shown me on their team. I mean, we can look at the rankings a little bit about what we have him at this week. We have him at 20 as a consensus ranking. That puts him in the 2 category. Right around the, Cobb or Amari Cooper.
Man. Cooper's got a tougher matchup, but I would probably go with Cooper.
Yeah, LaFell, Watkins, that range?
Yeah, that's fine. I would start Cobb over those guys.
Huh.
Yeah, I think Cobb is an okay start. I mean, you're not getting a wide receiver 1, but as a wide receiver 2, he has been getting enough receptions and targets. He's been getting 5 or 6 receptions a game. He just hasn't been in the end zone lately, and he hasn't broken one long. But
what is it? 10 straight games? You got 1 double-digit game in 10 games, something like that.
That's
what the problem. I want him to show me something before I put him in the lineup anymore. That's kind of my mentality. But I think his name is getting him starts more than his performance.
Yeah, that's understandable.
All right, we need to move on. Texans at the Bills. Let's talk about this game here. The Bills are favored. They're at home. You got Tyrod Taylor, the ever-banged-up Tyrod Taylor, and Brian Hoyer, and the red-hot Texans. So, what are the fantasy things to look for from the quarterback position in this game? Are either of these guys start-worthy?
No.
I think Hoyer is stream-worthy. I do. I wouldn't be afraid. I think there's better options than him. but I wouldn't start Taylor against the Houston defense that looks amazing. The Bills, they have not been that great a defense this year, and I think that the Texans can come out and win this game, and they could do it on the arm of Hoyer. So
yeah, Hoyer, he's not a terrible player, but there's just so many great streamers available this week. I can't imagine that Hoyer is the only one left on your wire. We've gone through all those guys like
I agree,
Cutler, Tannehill.
2 quarterback leagues, I think Hoyer's
Wilson,
a guy
Mariota.
Yeah, sure. Two quarterback league. Yeah, you're gonna.
He's going to be one of those guys that are the questions where it's like, hey, I might have somebody that I think is better, but I think you could throw on the Bills.
Yeah.
Now, Carlos Williams is still reportedly doubtful for this game.
Right. And I would say from the Bills, I talked about Watkins is my sit of the week. Now that once again, does a sit of the week mean that they're just going to do absolute nothing? No, I just think that he will be held in check as compared to what he did, especially compared to what he did last week. Really, the only Bills player I have confidence starting is LaShawn McCoy. He still looks spectacular. With Carlos Williams being banged up, that's great news for McCoy. No Carlos Williams vulturing a touchdown. So Shady's getting it done through the air and on the ground. He's getting the yards. The problem was, can he get the touchdown to put him over the top to be a monster game? And Carlos Williams was a great obstacle in the way of McCoy doing that. But we saw last week that he got to score on that nice dump-off pass. So McCoy is even though the Texans are great on defense right now, I still play McCoy.
I want to
give full confidence.
I want to give a little credence to your Sammy Watkins held in check point. The last 3 weeks for Houston, 197 yards through the air, 0 touchdowns against Cincinnati. 216 yards, 1 touchdown in Week 11. 228 and 0 against New Orleans. This is a passing defense that ranks number 3 in the league now, and they've obviously been winning games mostly from the defensive side. And so I'm with you. I think Watkins is somebody you start if you have to start him, but you're counting on one big play to somehow happen.
Exactly.
And he can do it because that's what great players do. But we're saying temper the expectation.
Yeah, and I think Tyrod Taylor's going to be just
Under
half
siege.
murdered. Yeah, I mean he's going to be hit a lot this game. So he's a guy I would steer way clear of personally.
Did you guys see the J.J. Watt trash talk quote that was coming out of the?
No.
So J.J. Watt in the game was telling the Saints, he's like, "You guys better find a new right tackle." He's like, I like Drew Brees. I don't like hitting him like this.
Oh, that's funny. Oh.
Yeah, that was not a good game for Mr. Breeze. All right, so the Ravens head to Miami to play the Dolphins in the game of the week.
This one is very interesting.
This is my game of the week that I am excited to see. I actually messaged Mike yesterday and said that this is the game I'm the most interested to watch.
Because you are a Lamar Miller owner.
That is 100% the reason. I am very curious. Mike and I are on different sides. Mike has a gut feeling that Lamar Miller is bad news city for Lamar Miller right now with Ajayi coming in.
Free agency
looming, all of that. I have the almost the exact opposite feel of Dan Campbell really wants to run the ball, likes Lamar Miller. They were putting Ajayi in the red zone and not scoring, and so they fire the OC, and I think that he wants it to be the Lamar Miller show. So I don't know. I mean, really these are gut feelings, which we really like to base our stuff on film and on stats here, but you have to go with gut too. This is why I'm interested to watch this game, because what happens in this game, I think very much will determine the playoffs. What does it look like for Lamar Miller or Ajayi? We're going to see a glimpse of that this week. So
I'm personally excited to see DaVante Parker get some snaps starting in this game for the first time. What does the offense look like? Like you said, this is more of a fantasy curiosity game than it is, a great NFL matchup. But, the Schaub-Aiken combo isn't exactly something I get worked up about.
Right. Not aching for it.
No, I mean, I have Aiken on my bench, and I'll probably never play him this year because, I mean, it's just hard to do. He's had 3 okay weeks.
It's never on my bench? Bacon.
It's
never
starting lineup.
Absolutely.
Is that so? Breakfast food starting lineup.
Bacon.
Bacon's got to be first, unless cereal can be. Nah, I'm still going bacon.
I would put bacon in my cereal.
Let me ask you this: would you just eat bacon for a breakfast?
100 1,000% yes.
Yeah.
I feel like bacon is great and should be eaten in mass quantity, but it's still part of a complementarian mindset to breakfast.
You know, until you've done it, you don't know. And I have absolutely done it. I've had a breakfast of bacon.
I lived the life. I walked the walk.
And let me tell you, there's no regrets. Okay? Not until I get my first heart attack will I stop eating bacon.
Until you've done it. You watch your mouth, son.
Yeah. I love the Dolphins.
Till you lived in my greasy shoes.
I love the Dolphins defense as a fantasy play this week.
High upside.
Yeah, I mean, what is the likelihood that they have a pick six for a touchdown in this game?
You got to put
like 50-50
You got to put it
odds?
50-50
I mean,
with
so,
Matt Schaub. And so Buck Allen, for the people who they picked him up, he's a full start for me this week. Miami's rush defense has been hemorrhaging as of late, and I think he's a very strong play.
And to that point, the Ravens, I know we complained a little bit, you did, in the beginning of the year about Trestman not really involving the running back in the passing game enough to your satisfaction. As an owner, you probably wanted it about every play. But the Ravens are still one of the highest in the league with 28% of passes to the running back position. We saw that last week with Buck Allen getting some more of those dump-off passes. He's a quantity. I mean, I think his talent is there too. He's a young guy. But he's getting enough work to where he should be a viable start.
You lose your starting quarterback, your starting running back, and your star wide receiver. And the offensive coordinator, Trestman, coming in, is not going to just stick with the same system that wasn't his. He's going to say, I've got to manufacture offense, and it's going to go. That's why I love Buck Allen here. I think Buck Allen has a baseline of 4 receptions a game, and he could go higher than that.
You've seen him manufacture that too with the tight end position with Crockett Gilmore, with Juszczyk out of the backfield, with different mixing pieces and things like that. The offense has limited upside. Like you said, there's a reason why you kind of like streaming the Dolphins this week. I'm okay with that. I'm not all about it because I don't know. The Dolphins just, who knows how much they've given up, how much this season is in trouble, what the offense does. Tannehill can give points back, which counts against your defense, which is a problem. But, yeah, I like the idea of Buck Allen. Now put this in context. Buck Allen, David Johnson, Thomas Rawls, 3 of the big free agent signings over the last few weeks. So how do you like them rest of the season?
I love all those guys rest of season.
I guess rank them is more.
Okay,
it's more of the question.
Rank them. Honestly, I'm gonna put. I'm not looking at matchups, so I'm just thinking of offense right now, and because of that, I'm going to put David Johnson number 1. The Arizona Cardinals are the number 1 offense in the entire league. They score boatloads of points nearly every single week, and that David Johnson is the goal line back. He was the goal line back earlier. They kind of went away from that. They were not having success on the goal line. If you watched the San Francisco Cardinals debacle last week, you saw the Cardinals get about 18 plays inside the 5, and they were doing all sorts of different things till they finally said, screw this, David Johnson, run it in. And what did David Johnson do? He ran it right in because that's what he does. So he just has the highest opportunity to me to score a touchdown weekly. Second, I would go with Rawls just because he's the workhorse back. Fred Jackson will get some of that action catching the ball. Buck Allen is lowest because the offense is a lower-powered offense. We're still not exactly sure what the split will be with Terrence West, who surprised. He didn't have a ton of snaps, but when they snapped the ball with Terrence West in there, he ran it. That's his ratio of snap to getting a touch was very high. And was that just revenge game against Cleveland? We're not sure. So they're kind of a situation I need to monitor. I'm not going to let that dissuade me from playing Buck Allen at all this week, but that's how I would rank those 3 guys.
And I would put Rawls first. Rawls, I mean, you weren't looking into the schedules or the matchups. Rest of season, Rawls has a very nice, juicy playoff schedule. All 3 winnable matchups. You've got him who's a workhorse.
Do you have those 3 up? I'm just curious. I can't remember the 3 matchups.
I can pull them up again here. They were pretty good. The only bad one was the Rams, which are not that good of a run defense. People are very scared about playing a guy against the Rams D, and the truth is, at the running back position, you're fine to play that. Thomas Rawls goes week 14 at Baltimore. They're okay. Cleveland.
That's great.
In week 15. and then St. Louis, like I just spoke of, in Week 16. So
And-
I like Thomas Rawls. David Johnson's got a little bit tougher matchup the rest of the way.
David Johnson plays Minnesota, Week 14, so that's a tougher one. Philadelphia, delightful. Arizona's going to score a ton of points. And then Green Bay, which you would have to put at a middle
Yeah.
tier. So I guess it leans slightly to Rawls, but
Yeah, I would go
The
Rawls,
thing
David
that
Johnson.
I like about
Buck Allen.
Rawls is the 53% rushing attempts. Like that, they run more than
Right.
anybody else in football. So, but yeah, they're all three I love, and all three could honestly outperform the other guy depending on whether they catch fire, they get goal line
Well,
opportunities.
and Rawls doesn't have anybody really cutting into his workload. We don't know yet with David Johnson, but I wouldn't be shocked if Kerwin Williams comes in or Stephon Taylor has
yeah,
a
because you
lot
don't
of
just
usage.
necessarily, if your Arians hand it off to the
Right, and we
this
saw with
is-
Buck Allen.
there is risk with David Johnson. If Johnson comes out this week and fumbles, then there's troubles. There will be trouble, absolutely, if he puts the ball on the ground. But I'm going to believe that he won't. Maybe that's a little foolish because has a record this year of already fumbling a good bit. But it's just the opportunity for points is too great with Arizona.
I wanted to take a quick look at the Rawls snap counts from last week, and it was at 65%. So not through the roof, not out insane, but certainly
Right.
getting the majority. All right, we're moving on. Bengals go to Cleveland, take on the Browns. Okay. Breaking news, not my almost upset of the week.
Yeah.
So I guess the questions here circle around, will Eifert play? And will Barnage be the same type of tight end in terms of production with a different quarterback, Davis or Manziel?
I think he'll be better with Davis than he would be with Manziel. I'm not afraid of Barnage, which I've been the one least on him. But the way that they run their offense, watching the Browns games recently, it's just he's super involved, and there's not a lot of other options. You've got Travis Benjamin and Barnage as essentially the two main guys that soak up all the
What
targets.
about Dwayne Bowe, Mike?
Dude, I'm telling you, Dwayne Bowe, he's just getting ready. He's getting ready.
He's warming up.
He's gone. I've got it on good authority.
Hibernation?
Well, it's kind of like hibernation. It's one of those chambers that they use in like Dragon Ball Z, and they go in for the ultimate training. And Dwayne Bowe is going to emerge and just
Is there
be a
a
monster.
pop culture vein that Mike is not aware of? I mean, does he know every?
Maybe the girl, Jim and the Rockstars. Is that big for you? Are you?
truly, truly outrageous.
Oh my goodness.
He's trouble.
He is
this guy's
outrageous.
trouble. All right. Hey, one thing I do know about this game is that I love AJ Green.
Yeah,
AJ Green had a huge week last week. He's not going to let you down this week. The Browns give up multiple touchdowns to wide receivers 72% of the time, and AJ Green is a wide receiver. A pretty good one.
that statement had me very confused.
Well, I should have. It was meant to confuse for just a moment. The Browns also, believe it or not, they're not very good against the run.
Yeah, I was going to say we have I have instituted the NBA Jam methodology here
Yep.
of good game heating up on fire. Jeremy Hill is heating up. He is heating up to me.
So what is this? Jeremy Hill, Eddie Lacy, C.J. Anderson, disappointments abounding in the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
and now maybe
So last week against the Rams, he was
that cold weather.
He was 16 for 86. The cold weather could have something to do with it. 16 for 86, his best yard per carry game of the season. He got knocked out with an ankle injury. For those who are monitoring his situation, he's not even on the injury report. He is practicing in full, so they don't. The Bengals don't consider it even. It's nothing. There's nothing wrong with his ankle. Hill is a guy I like. I like him this week. Against the Browns, like you said, they're just a horrific running defense, giving up hundreds of yards weekly. So Hill's a guy that I don't mind as an RB2 this week.
passing touchdowns given up by the Browns over the last 3 weeks is 8.
That's
Wow.
8 passing
in
touchdowns.
2 weeks.
Now you flip it to the other direction. You had Cincinnati gave up quite a bit to Arizona, but the defense has been stout otherwise. Is Travis Benjamin startable this week? Just kind of as the
Yeah.
Let me ask you this in
Benjamin
the same
Aiken. Oh, okay.
game. Would you rather start Travis Benjamin or Marvin Jones?
Marvin Jones.
Me too.
Man, it's probably Benjamin.
Very interesting.
Probably.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on here. Let's talk 49ers and Bears. The Bears are favored by a touchdown at home, still in the playoff hunt, and been playing pretty well. What do we think about this matchup? What is there to think about this matchup?
Yeah, there's not much.
And again, I'd love to have an upset here, but no.
So I'll try and go through this one quick. You start Forte over Langford. I think the split widens a little bit this week to Forte. Last week was his first game back, coming off that injury, and it was about 50-50. I would expect it to be closer to 60-40. Of course, Langford can score a touchdown. We know that he's very capable of doing that, but it's still Forte for me. Sean Drawn, the fantasy vegetables, you got to start him. If you get any kind of points for catching the ball, you have to start Sean Drawn. You just close your eyes. And you got to plug your nose so that the taste
have your
isn't as
wife
bad.
do it. If you can't move him into your lineup, have somebody else come in and make the switch.
Tight ends, Zach Miller. Okay, so here's where we can pause. Zach Miller, how do we feel about him going up against the 49ers?
I like Zach Miller a lot. I really do. I've looked at this. I'm a Gronk owner. I've had to look at tight ends a little bit more intensely than the average folk. And Martellus Bennett is not long for the Bears.
Stinks.
And John Fox is not a fan of Martellus Bennett's attitude. And there have been reports that last week's inactive was more related to mental than it was to physical.
Oh, John Fox.
That he's been brooding. And there's a reason Zach Miller's been getting more targets and been integrated into the offense. I like Zach Miller a lot. I really do, moving forward. I mean, he's still a second-tier tight end. He's not going to dominate and win your league, but over Bennett.
Oh, he's definitely better than Bennett.
Zach. If Bennett's active in this game, I'm starting Zach Miller over him.
Over him, and probably over no other wide receiver on the waiver. I mean, right?
Tight end.
Tight end, yeah.
No other? What do you mean?
I'm just saying I would see Zach Miller as probably, the 15th tight end or so? Definitely better than Martellus Bennett, but we're not talking about him being like a top 8 guy, are we?
No.
I expect this game to be lower scoring. John Fox is going to see the 49ers offense that can't do much, slow the game down.
And the 49ers defense has kept some games lower scoring. So
yeah.
I agree with you. I'm trying to see where we have Zach Miller.
I'll tell you what the 49ers defense has not done, and that's kept low-scoring games on the road. We will be getting into that a little bit more when I talk about Jay Cutler.
Yeah, and I'm going to Vance McDonald's the guy that I want to talk about from this game. But I'm going to delay that for another segment we have coming up. Hint.
We are the worst.
Hint.
All right. Jags Titans?
I guess.
Yes. Let's move on. We got to.
Yeah, Bolden. Do you guys have any thoughts on Bolden, who's been.
Zero chance I start him.
Okay.
Zero chance. The Bears secondary second in the league. The 49ers average about 200 yards a game. And those things shouldn't mix in Chicago very well. So let's talk Jaguars and Titans. Bortles, Mariota. I like Mariota as a stream this week. I really do. We only get to say a few names that we really like, but he's one of the guys that I really like this week. He had a good week last week. He had that rough week on Thursday night, I believe it was. He had a rough week in the last patch, but he had a big week before that. So Mariota, I really like him in this game. What are your thoughts on Mariota and Bortles? And who would you rather start between the two? I guess it's Bortles.
I would still rather start Bortles. I know that the matchup for Mariota is excellent. Jacksonville last week they just gave up four touchdowns to Felipe Rivers, so it's not awful to want to stream Mariota. He's not as high in the list for me. Guys, Allen Robinson, it's a great start. So let's move to the Tennessee offense. I guess there's more questions on there. David Cobb, there's all these reports now of the coaching staff from Tennessee. We want to figure out a way to get Cobb the ball more.
Haven't they said that for like 4 weeks though?
And when you say that, aren't you the one making the decisions on who's going to get the ball?
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to figure out? You hand the ball to him. Like
it's not like a wide receiver.
Easier.
It's not a wide receiver that's like we've got to make plays that get him more open. No, it's call
or
the
the
play
owner.
for him.
The owner of the team that's not making decisions on the field. Like the coach saying that, he should just say, "We're going to."
You could from the sidelines, just hey Mariota, could you hand the ball to him?
To the guy behind you. The guy standing behind you?
So stupid.
Yeah, this is not an offense I want a lot of shares in. Mariota gives you a baseline. He's been running a little bit more under the new head coach. And, Delaney Walker I really like because nobody has a higher percentage of passes caught by the tight end than the Titans do.
He is your start of the week for the rest of the
Start
season.
of the year.
It's not my start of the week this week, but
That's true.
he could be.
He was almost mine. I like him here. If you're in a standard non-PPR league and you need a tougher flex, I'm okay with Andrews on the Tennessee side, not as anything special, but as a guy that's at least, I don't see Cobb getting much work. I don't really love Yeldon for where he's been on the Jaguars side. He was going up against San Diego, which is such a great matchup last week, and he did nothing. He looks like he's slowing down. So I'm not digging most of these matchups. I do love me some Allen Robinson though.
I have mixed feelings about Allen Robinson. The Titans are the 6th best pass defense without Hearns on the other side. I know his talent is superior and he's probably going to be force-fed some targets, but this game's in Tennessee. The Titans defense is okay. I temper my upside with Robinson a little bit.
Yeah, I understand that, but Allen Robinson to me, he has joined that wide receiver 1 core of guys. I don't care about a matchup.
You're probably right, and I
him.
should probably be moving him there myself. So we got 3 matchups I want to get through real quick before we get to our starts of the week, but I want you guys to know, listeners out there, the starts of the week are coming, so stay tuned for that. Seahawks, Vikings in Minnesota. This game is a pick'em game by the Vegas line, and I kind of agree. I mean, we were trying to guess the lines yesterday. It's kind of a game we do around the office sometimes, and I think my guess was like half a point because I don't know who's going to win the game.
Also,
the Seahawks are trending up.
Of note, an over-under of 41.5.
Which is very low.
Very low.
Yep.
So let's talk. Who do we like from any of these things? Clearly, Adrian Peterson is a start. Is anybody – and Rawls. Rawls is probably a start, but I think you have to lower your expectations for him. The Vikings have been they give up some yardage, but they've been overall as a whole a pretty good defense this year. And people are not talking about the Vikings, which is a diversion here of interesting about the Vikings. There was so much preseason hype on the Vikings. I love them. Andy really, really liked the Vikings. He said the Vikings were going to make the playoffs. They're in line to be in the playoffs, and no one's talking about the Vikings.
It's because they're not high scoring.
They're not flashy.
Yeah.
And they kind of come across the way that the Panthers came across last year. I know the records are a little different where you kind of thought they're a playoff team, but you can't envision necessarily, at least I can't, the Super Bowl run for a team like that. But and I could be completely wrong.
And what's funny about that is because what do we want from a Super Bowl team? Well, I want a very good defense.
Yep.
Check mark.
We'll be able to run the ball.
I want to be able to run the ball.
Yep.
Adrian Peterson. And
good game management quarterback.
Teddy Bridgewater. Like they are what every checkbox you want from a playoff team. That's what they got. I just think it's funny that.
But did any of us think they were going to beat the Packers?
No.
Yeah. So that conception of them,
right.
that perception of them is part of the problem. But it's a good point. And the Vikings D, I think we looked it up, didn't have it written down here, but they've given up more than 2 passing touchdowns never.
Right.
The entire year.
To the quarterback.
So that tempers your Russell Wilson. He's coming off of a 5-touchdown game. It's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah, I bet anything on that. Anybody wants a water bet with 5 more touchdowns to Russell Wilson, I'll take that water bet.
I do see we have a little typo here under the tight end because it's Luke Wilson, but we misspelled it.
We forgot to put the extra L.
We forgot it's Luke Wilson.
Yeah. All right, and Kyle Rudolph's been playing well. I don't mind starting Kyle Rudolph. I believe the Seahawks are 30th against tight ends, something like that.
Yeah, they are susceptible. It's just so hard because every time you think, okay, I got Kyle Rudolph figured out, I'm going to depend on him. He lets you down with one of his wide open end zone drops.
So you had his good game, then you have him heating up.
Yeah.
Is there any chance,
there is a
same with
chance.
Doug Baldwin is in that same category. He's had some good games.
There's
Jimmy Graham.
There's a good chance for both. I just don't see either of those happening.
Yeah, if I had to, so you start AP, you start Rawls. I think you don't expect huge games from either guys. After that, it's really Rudolph and that you can start and maybe Baldwin, and then I think that's
Baldwin
it.
like a wide receiver 3.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
I mean, I don't want anybody else. What about Stefan Diggs?
Oh, Stephon Diggs, you You burned Brian.
Yeah, I'm
Brian.
benching him for a while.
Yeah, and against the Seahawks, it's not the right matchup to guess that he's going to break something loose. So
I agree. All right, let's do one more here, and we're going to push Cardinals-Rams to tomorrow.
Okay.
The Jets go to New York, where they're from, and take on the Giants.
long road trip.
Yes, they
Home field advantage.
do they take all the Jets and spin them 3 times with their eyes closed, and when they open it up, like all the Giants signage is up in the stadium, and they're like, "Whoa, you're in a different place now."
They're like when when you're a kid, when you pretend like you're going through a time portal or something.
Right,
So they
right.
just add a bunch of flashing lights and fog into the
the
game
tunnel?
You're like, ooh, you've transported to a magical
What you do
world.
is you put them on the bus and you take them around a few times, and then you come back to the stadium. All right, so this is really the focus of our analysis here is they're going on the road to New York. All right, Fitzmagic facing off against Eli Manning. We like Fitzpatrick as a streamer this week, and
Yes.
what's not to like? The Giants give up 250-plus to the quarterback in 80% of their games. And he's coming off a 4-touchdown game. Marshall and Decker, the Marshall Decker experience
Yes.
is nice right now for fantasy owners. So how high do you have Mr. Ryan Fitzpatrick this week?
I have him very high. I mean, he's coming off a 4-touchdown game. I know I probably have him too high. We do our stats and then we look, but he's been getting some yards on the ground. I expect him to be able to throw a couple of touchdowns against the New York Giants and plenty of yards. I think I've got him top 5 this week. So as a top 5 quarterback, a little spoiler alert, he's my start of the week. He was my stream of the week. I'm confident with him. I don't see a situation where, Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker get shut out by the Giants D. So the touchdowns are going to be there. And I think his baseline is safe, and his ceiling, against
we
this
saw
D can be very high. So.
I have no problem with you having Fitzpatrick as the top 5. Quarterback fluctuation happens, and Fitzpatrick is a guy who's shown all season that he's getting it done. I have that slight concern of when is winter Fitzpatrick going to show up.
I've had the same thoughts.
Do you notice he trimmed his beard? That seems like a counter winter move.
Yeah, it's very un-Samson-like of him.
However, he trimmed it and threw 4 touchdowns.
That's what I mean. His power grew.
He's the opposite.
Right?
Shave your body.
Go full Gattaca, and you have to
Yes.
scrub everything off.
8 to 10 touchdowns a game if you if you can do that.
I like him. Let's talk Eli Manning. How comfortable are you starting Eli? The Jets secondary
I'm
is
super
not
comfortable.
Okay, so the Jets secondary was not what they were at the early to start the year. Darrell/Darren Revis is expected to be out, like we said. So, and if you watched the game last week of Eli Manning, where he ended up with an okay game, it started off horrifically. It started horrifically because of wide receiver caused interceptions. We really got to figure out that stat of attributing a pick to a quarterback when it is completely the wide receiver's fault. Just saying. I would like that to
Like
be
a
figured
full, like a drop interception or a tip pass
out.
interception?
Yeah, where it hits a guy right in the hands.
Right.
And he bobbles it straight up and it turns into a pick.
Or like that Cam Newton pick earlier where he threw a completion, and when the guy went to tackle him, he ripped the ball out of his hands. And it
Yeah.
was an interception. That's not an interception.
That's not a true reflection on the quarterback, and that's why stats can't be relied on for every single thing. And you make a good point. Both those interceptions were ridiculous. They weren't Manning's fault, but he didn't play well to boot. I mean, the defense for Washington kind of had him on the ropes. Other guys to talk about in this game, I don't think anybody at this point is relying upon the rushing game of the Giants to win their fantasy playoffs.
Oh, no.
I hope
Oh, no.
if they are, they aren't in the fantasy playoffs.
Flip a 4-sided coin and then throw the coin away. Chris Ivory, though, I've seen mixed opinions about him because the matchup's great. I mean, the Giants are not good against the run. Ivory had a good game last week. He got it going on the ground again, but he's tough because he's not always out there. Bilal Powell's out there. A lot of the, nobody passes more touchdowns to the wide receiver than the Jets seem to do. So is this a game where if Ivory scores, he's good for you? If he doesn't, he's not?
No, I think he's got a decent baseline here. I don't expect this game to get away from the Jets too badly. I mean, it could happen, but I think he's going to be all right. I've got him as a running back 1, and I wouldn't be afraid of starting him. He's had some bad games, and he's had some great games, but this is one where I think if he doesn't get in the end zone, he's going to end up having, 65 yards and not put a 1 or 2 fantasy point total on your team.
He's a running back too.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on out. Get out of the matchups. We'll finish the rest of them tomorrow and talk about who we really like in week number 13.
Starts of the week.
Now, Mike, you're starting with Austin Davis. Is that correct?
Correct. Austin Davis.
Oh, man.
My start of the week.
Quick, correct that before somebody before their podcast ends. All right, so Mike, let's start with you though. Let's start at the quarterback position. Who is your start of the week? I've seen this name on your own fantasy roster.
I'm going. Yeah, it's so to start the week.
It's Tanny.
So full disclosure, I was Ryan Tannehill was my stream of the week. I absolutely still believe in Ryan Tannehill. I think he's a great option this week. I just when I broke down all the matchups, I saw Jay Cutler available on the wire, and he is my start of the week for this reason. We think the San Francisco defense, we saw him last week at home, hold the Arizona Cardinals kind of in check, because the San Francisco defense, they give up about 16 points at home. On the road, they give up 35 points.
Wow.
To opposing offenses, and the Bears, I think, will have no problem getting a solid amount of points. And if you need a ceiling, Jay Cutler, it depends on if the touchdowns go to the running back, but there's going to be points scored for the Bears. I expect at least 3 touchdowns for Chicago, with a great chance that they end up going to Cutler. Alshon Jeffrey is finally healthy.
Yes.
And that is a completely different passing offense with Alshon Jeffrey. So I love Jay Cutler this week.
And I love Alshon Jeffrey this week. I'll say mine really quick because I just talked about him. Ryan Fitzpatrick is mine. We try to pick guys here that are, even though it's the start of the week, that are, not owned everywhere, that you could grab off the waivers, or you've already got him, sitting on your bench and you're hesitant. Ryan Fitzpatrick should be safe this week. I think he's got, a baseline of over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm not afraid of him. So.
Yeah, and I went with my stream of the week as well. Fitzpatrick was yours. I went with Alex Smith again as the start of the week. I like his potential here. The Raiders are 24th against the pass. Alex Smith had a big week, and we've talked, if you go back and you listen to the show on Tuesday, you heard why Alex Smith is running with more intentional, drawn-up run plays, so he's giving you a baseline there, and I just think that he has a lot of upside this week, and it should be pretty safe for you. So at the running back position, I'm going to start this off. I went with Gio Bernard.
Giovanni.
I think the matchup, big play potential against Cleveland. They've given up 130-plus yards to the running back position in 60% of their games. I think he's an RB2 very safely with RB1 upside. I know Jeremy Hill is ascending. I know the potential for Jeremy Hill is there if they get way ahead and they just start running out the clock. But I'm going to count on a big play from Gio Bernard, and he's played so well all year long. I don't want to forget him, and I think he's a worthy start this week.
Not bad. And I am going with it was hotly debated over our chat system last night. I'm going with C.J. Anderson of the Broncos. He is healthy. He's got B.O. under center. Do you guys know that B.O.?
That's not a great initial. That stinks.
Oh!
Brock Osweiler.
Thank you. So Osweiler's under center. We have seen that the offense, this is a completely different offense than they were running the first 3 quarters of the season. The last 2 games, Brock Osweiler is literally under center, taking the snaps. It has improved the running game for both Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson. And the matchup is with the San Diego Chargers, who give up 100 yards essentially every single week. Let me pull up the exact amount here as we are discussing.
You made good points last night, and when we looked at the breakdowns between C.J. Anderson's start and finish in terms of yards per carry, it's been almost like 2 different players. The one point that I would make against C.J. Anderson was the fact that Hillman had 72 carries in the last 5 games, and C.J. Anderson had 50. But he's been playing great. 7-point-something a carry last game with the 48-yard touchdown to end the game.
And my problem with that is last 5 games. Brock Osweiler's only started 2 games, and the offense is completely different. And like I was saying, so 8 times on the year, the Chargers have given up over 100 yards to the running back. It's just a delicious matchup, and I do think that C.J. Anderson is back.
All right, Jason, who's your running back start of the week?
My running back start of the week is David. Oh, my gosh. I almost didn't even
What did
sing
you
it.
just
I
do?
didn't sing it. No, I stopped. All right. My running back start of the week is David Johnson.
He can't not finish that up.
I can't not finish that up. But here's the thing. David Johnson, a lot of people just went out. They spent a lot of money. They grabbed him. Now they've got him on their team, and they don't know what to do. Do I start him? Do I not? We don't know. Well, let me tell you, start him. And here's why. The Rams, the vaunted, awesome Rams defense, last week, they gave up 106 yards. The week before, 96, so almost 100. The week before, 129. The week before, 129. What? They're giving up 100 yards every week to the running back. So, now, I'm not saying that David Johnson is going to go for 100, but he has 6 touchdowns on the year as the third-string running back. Now you've got Chris Johnson out of the way, Andre Ellington out of the way, a high-power offense. David Johnson could finish as the number 1 running back this week. I'm not saying he will, but he is a guy that should be in the roster.
I see a parallel between David Johnson and Carlos Williams. I mean, if Carlos Williams was the guy behind in Buffalo, can catch some passes, has a nose for the end zone, very similar situation to me.
Yeah, so if you got him, start him.
All right, I'm going to go with Martavis Bryant as my wide receiver start of the week.
And I love it.
At home against Indianapolis. When Indy travels, they give it up, and they give it up to the wide receiver. Huge games yardage-wise to the wide receiver when they've gone on the road. And, Martavis Bryant, you can't hold him down. You really can't. I expect big plays from him, so I feel extremely confident starting Martavis Bryant. I feel like because of his name and because of the fact he's probably started in a lot of leagues, I want to give you some context for that pick. I'm going to start Martavis Bryant over Larry Fitzgerald if I had to face those two this week. I'm going to start him over Allen Robinson. I'm going to start him over Jarvis Landry. I'm going to start him over Mike Evans. Okay, so I want some context there because those are the decisions you're actually making. I like him a lot. I have him, around the 8 to 10 range with big upside if he can get a couple touchdowns. If he can just grab a couple.
Yeah, well, that's what he does.
All right, Mike, who do you got? Because yours is bold, man.
Mine is a bit bold. I'm on a little bit of a ledge here. I'm going with DaVante Parker. Rashard Matthews is going to be out with those ribs. Parker got 10 targets last week. Now, a lot of that was ketchup / garbage, whatever you want to call it, because of the
mustard,
game flow.
relish.
Yeah, you're right that relish is garbage. So thank you for
I'm
pointing that out for me.
Ketchup and
So because of the game flow, I understand that. But he's going to get a chance. He was a highly, highly touted rookie coming out into the draft.
You have him at that 2-3. You have him right in that 2-3 range. That's pretty high for a guy. I mean, that's bold.
And I understand that he is not proven. But the Baltimore pass defense, we saw it again with Travis Benjamin last week. It's just big plays happen against the Baltimore Ravens, and they happen weekly. I look for Parker to be that guy who can stretch the field. Landry is a perfect underneath guy. Landry is not a big play down the field guy. That's going to be up to Parker. So I have confidence that at least one is going to happen this week.
I love it. That is bold, but I really like it. I'm so excited for the Dolphins game this week. For me, my start of the week is coming off of an injury, so people might be a little bit hesitant, but it's Danny Amendola. He is, to me, a borderline wide receiver 1.
What are you chuckling about?
I don't know. I feel like it was like a poem he was starting. He is to me.
Danny Amendola.
I've got him ranked 14. So here's the
He is
thing.
to me a swollen knee.
In the 4 games without Dion Lewis, here's the receptions, not the targets, the receptions. 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Ascension.
But Jason, my league gives negative points for receptions.
What?
Oh, well then don't start Danny Amendola. But Jason, aren't they facing the Eagles and they've got a good pass defense?
Nope.
No.
They
don't.
I think even the public opinion understands that the Eagles are not a good defense.
Well, the first half of the year, they
Yeah,
were
first
so
half.
good. Here's what they've done the last 4 weeks. The last 4 weeks. Just to wide receivers, okay? This is not
3,200 yards. No.
Yeah, in the last 4 weeks, they have given up 11 touchdowns to wide receivers only. What? They're giving up 4, 3 every week. And now Tom Brady's there. He's going to be throwing touchdowns. He doesn't have Gronkopotamus. You are going to see Danny Amendola, and I even think Brandon LaFell get in the end zone,
Yep.
score, and have great weeks. So
All right,
start
I agree. All right, we're going on to the tight end.
Yeah, let's finish this.
Hey, tight end start of the week. E-I-E-I-O. Vance McDonald's farm, all right? Listen up. You want to come over to Vance McDonald's farm? Here's what you're going to get.
It's sustainable.
It is sustainable.
It's earth-friendly and sustainable.
It is sustainable. Listen, I have racked my brain all week to replace Gronkowski, and I'm hating that I have to do that. It stinks. In my league, I had choices of Kyle Rudolph, okay? You know, you got your Zach Miller. Who else do we have? Luke Wilson as an option. Scott Chandler. Listen, Vance McDonald has a unique situation. He's not an otherworldly talent, but he's very athletic. 2 weeks ago, 465 and a touchdown. Last week, 671 and a touchdown. Well, what changed? Why is Vance McDonald on the map? A couple different things. One, Vernon Davis, gone. Traded away. So Vance McDonald moves up the charts. Blaine Gabbert comes in and starts throwing to the tight end. Blaine Gabbert's thrown 4 touchdowns as a quarterback. All of them have gone to the tight end position. 2 to Vance McDonald, 2 to Garrett Selleck. Garrett Selleck is out now. So Vance McDonald has the ability to come in to that situation and have a baseline of catches. I'm not guaranteeing touchdowns from him every week, but if I can get 5 or 6, 7 with a potential for the touchdown, like Mike said in the beginning, the 49ers are not going to get shut out. Okay, they're probably not going to get shut out by the Bears. I'm hoping it goes to Vance McDonald. I'm starting him this week. I'm going to put him out there.
I'm hoping you're wrong because you are playing him against me. I'm not as confident as you are. However, that being said, you are the one who has personally done so much research on tight ends because you have a horse in the race and you're on him and you normally get those things right. So I got no problem with that. My tight end start of the week is Julius Thomas.
I see what you did
No,
there.
no, I'm kidding. Even though he was. My tight end start of the week is going to be Antonio Gates. But Jason, he's one of the best tight ends in the league. Why are you picking Antonio Gates? Isn't that obvious?
I don't like the voice of public opinion.
Yeah, sorry.
I think it's delightful.
Antonio Gates goes up against Denver. Everybody knows Denver is the best defense in the league. They shut the world down. But you want to know what they really shut down? They shut down the wide receiver position. San Diego is coming in, and San Diego throws a higher percentage than almost any team in the league. So they're going to be throwing the ball. But they're not going to be able to throw the ball to the wide receiver because the DBs that Denver has are just too good. So it's got to go Antonio Gates' way. And so
It's got to go underneath a little bit more.
Yeah, it's going to have to go to that tight end position. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you're fine starting Antonio Gates.
So this is a confidence boost start.
Exactly.
This is saying, hey, just roll him out there. You'll be all right.
You'll be all right. He might not have the biggest game ever, but he's going to be fine.
He probably won't have the biggest game ever.
True.
All right.
And my tight end start of the week is a combo with Jason of Julius Thomas. It's Allen Hurns is out. There is a void in the Jacksonville offense that needs to be filled. And we saw that Julius Thomas, he is capable of doing it. 9 catches, 116 yards. Tennessee is not that great against the tight end. What's funny about that game is Jacksonville versus Tennessee are both horrific tight end defenses. So it could just be the battle of the tight ends.
Delaney Walker and
Orange Julius Thomas, or
Yep.
what do they call him?
Brown Julius.
Teal Julius, something like that. Because he's not orange anymore.
Yeah.
He's not on the Broncos.
yeah, that's too bad.
Green Julius,
There you go.
power green smoothie Julius. Thomas.
Golden Julius.
That's not bad. Golden Julius.
There you go.
So I like Thomas to step up for this matchup.
All right, that does it for the starts of the week and the matchups. Thanks for hanging out with us. A little longer show today. Send your complaints to our complaint department
At
1234 Street.
Oh. 1234 Fake Street.
Yeah. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have Daily Dose, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Drop some DFS knowledge on you. See if you can win some money this week. And we will have the rest of our fantasy forecast and some other fun stuff to round out the week. So, guys, any parting words? Any thoughts?
Not for today. Not for today.
Vance McDonald. I'm putting it out there. I'm hanging my hat on Vance.
Eco-friendly Vance
Yep.
McDonald.
All righty, see ya.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.